Welcome, everybody, to the Healing Lounge for another great episode. Today on the Healing Lounge podcast, we are thrilled to welcome an innovator, visionary, and pioneer in the world of fungi and sustainable science, William Padilla Brown. William is a founder and CEO of Mycosymbiotics, a cutting-edge applied biological science company that has been reshaping how we engage with fungi, sustainability, and regenerative living since 2015. True multidisciplinary citizen scientist, William works across fields like mycology, phycology, molecular biology, social science, and even additive manufacturing, blending ancient wisdom with futuristic techniques. He is also an accomplished author, having written the first English language books on cultivating cordyceps mushrooms, and he's sought after educator with certifications in permaculture design and algal culturing. His work has been recognized by global platforms like Vice and Fantastic Fungi, and he has inspired thousands through his teaching, writing, and speaking engagements. As a creator of MycoFest, the annual mushroom and arts festival now entering its 11th year, William continues to grow community knowledge and symbiotic awareness through accessible, inclusive education, prepare for a powerful dialogue with the future on the future of fungi, the intelligence of nature, and deeper connections we hold with Earth's most mysterious organisms. William, thank you so much for taking the time to be on here on the Healing Lounge. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling blessed and thankful for life. You know what I mean? Sun shining, I'm breathing. You know what I mean? I got a beautiful garden in front of me, and a bright future ahead. So I'm feeling very, very grateful.
That's amazing. Yes, great to hear. And William, for everyone out there who doesn't know about your story or how you got into mycology, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Word. Yeah. So I grew up traveling all around, so I didn't really have a home base, and I kind of rooted into Pennsylvania. That's where my father retired from the military. Both my parents worked independently of each other. My dad worked in the army. My mom worked in the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Foreign Affairs. And so I was just all over the place, all over the place. And so I kind of hunkered down in Pennsylvania. That's where my dad retired. That's where I was able to set some roots. And in high school, I got interested in mushrooms, just like most kids do. And so I explored that interest, heavily. And I was always interested in philosophy, traveling around a lot. I felt like more like a tourist of the world than like of some place specifically, because I was always traveling. So like I definitely took like a more philosophical approach. I definitely had like a lot of spent a lot of time thinking. I spent a lot of time thinking about time when I was young, and read the Egyptian Book of the Dead probably when I was like 11. It was like a Smithsonian rendition of it, so it was like not the full thing, but it was in English. So I was thinking about a lot of like abstract concepts at a young age, and which kind of put me in this position of dropping out of school when I was like 17 because it was interfering with my education, and I immediately started studying quantum physics and consciousness theory because that's where my head was at. That's what I was interested in. So the mushrooms kind of went hand in hand with gathering more perspective of space time and consciousness. I was really just like practicing a lot of meditation and things like this prior. So yeah, I got into the cool mystical mushrooms when I was younger, and you know, um, playing around with plant medicine and things like this as a young person, made me feel very alive. Uh, Me and my lady, we had our first kid when I was 20. She was 19. Yeah, she was 19. I was 20. And we had our own spot. I had my own spot since I was like 17, and I was like, experimenting with things, growing things, seeing what the world was like, and seeing who I was, what I'm made of, you know what I mean? And that became like a very core focus of my life. Is just like, what are you made of? What are you made of? And it was just like, yo, what are you putting in your body? What are you consuming? What kind of content are you consuming? Like, who's producing this content? Who's producing this food? Who's producing these clothes? All this type of stuff. So like, um, I put a big emphasis on figuring all these things out. And when my son was born, when I was 20 years old, I was like, oh, being in central Pennsylvania, I've tasted the law. You know what I mean? I've tasted the law. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to be doing anything that can make me have to deal with this. So I stopped growing anything that may be illicit, and started focusing on cultivating things that were high value in the environment. Different mushrooms, superfoods, things like this. I was like super fixated on superfoods, and mushrooms were like highly revered as superfoods. So I started growing all these different mushrooms and foraging. I spent a lot of time foraging when I was young. So my like my introduction in mycology mushrooms is like the mystical to legit just like getting out in the woods in the forest near me in central Pennsylvania, finding what food and medicine in the form of mushrooms was around, and the rest is history. Is really highly documented history. Really cool at this point to see how much this has expanded and how much has it impacted so many people.
Yes, the world of mycology is not only a mysterious one, but also an exciting one. It's really getting a lot of headline, and there's a lot of applications and things that we could use, mushrooms and different kinds of mushrooms. You mentioned you are a citizen scientist. What is a citizen scientist for those out there?
A citizen scientist is anybody that's curious and practicing science or a scientific method outside of institution. Whether you're classically trained or not, you can practice science. I've been practicing biological sciences. I can't say that I'm like out here like every single time I'm doing, what people would consider science. I'm not out here like, running experiments and doing the scientific method every day or whatever, you know what I mean? But throughout my life, I've practiced multiple biological sciences, molecular biology and phycology and mycology. But I'm not a classically trained scientist. So like a lot of people, would say, oh, you're a scientist. Look at you. You're doing all this science and stuff. And I'm just like, nah, this is citizen science. I didn't even go to school. Like people pay a lot of money to get those titles and spend a lot of time, you know what I mean? So I'm not trying to discredit anybody that does all that. But yeah, and I also don't need to conform to as a citizen scientist, I don't need to conform to the traditional methodologies. I could be somebody that just is uh, a field researcher and observe the environment and document in my own way. But documentation, I think, is the most key point if you want to consider yourself a citizen scientist. You got to document what you're doing in some way and make it accessible to others. So whether it's like photos, videos, journals, actual research papers, whatever, documenting it in some way so other people can benefit from the information that you've gathered. But yeah, all of us have the potential to be citizen scientists. It's just a way of living our lives.
Yes, it really does pay off to be a little bit more curious about your environment and everything in it. Yeah, you never know what you could discover. Yes. So the internet of the forest. Can you explain a little bit about that metaphor for the listeners?
Well, all right. So like I actually been working on this documentary, and in my documentary, one of the scientists that's featured is this gentleman named James Trappy, who described more truffles than anybody in the world. And I was very honored to have him in my documentary. And the one bit I have, he says, uh, for my graduate's thesis or my master's thesis in the 50s, I covered the phenomenon of mycorrhiza. And this is what people refer to when they speak about the internet of the forest. It's just like it's becoming more and more common knowledge that trees can communicate with each other. This is something that wasn't common knowledge whenever I was even born, like 30 years ago. So trees can communicate with each other. Mother trees can help support the baby trees through a connection of fungus, a collection of fungi that's on their roots that can connect between them so they can exchange nutrients and information between this connection here. So the fact that this researcher said that he was studying the phenomenon of mycorrhiza in the 50s means that in the US, in Latin-based speaking countries, there hadn't been any document or understanding much of this connection or of this phenomenon. It's not a phenomenon anymore. We know this since the 50s, but it's only since like the 60s that mycology is even recognized as an independent science outside of botany. So it's like we're still developing the language to understand some of these things. I think our children are going to have this way, way better understood than we do. But the internet of the forest is just the interconnectivity. It's not like the whole forest is connected. Not every tree is connected to each other. It's more so trees that are in association, same species, or relative, like parental connections and things like this. One tree over here may have an entirely different fungus on the roots than the tree that's right next to it, especially if they're different types of trees. So there's a lot of caveats, but there is fungus in the soil in forests that connects trees, that can connect trees and allow for communication and exchange of nutrients.
That is very powerful how fungi works in that sense and providing these nutrients and, connecting ecosystems. That's amazing. What inspired the launch of Mycosymbiotics back in 2015? And how has it evolved?
Well, my son was born in 2014, and I was living in a little apartment above a garage behind somebody's house in an alley. And I was I was working at a Mexican restaurant, like taking orders, and I had a GED, and I was just really, really high all the time on psychedelics. And so I was just like, oh shit, I'm having a kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is crazy. I'm like 20 years old. Like, this is wild. You know what I mean? So like, I was like, oh shoot, like he deserves better than this. You know what I mean? So I was just like, all right, I got to get my act together. I got to do something now that we can depend on in the future because right now I don't have anything and I can't continue to not have anything if I have a kid. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, I'm not about to just like subject him to like the most base layer reality just because I wasn't able to be better for us. You know what I mean? Like he would have just had to deal with whatever regular government, everything. You know what I mean? Government, healthcare, regular public schools. And not to say that public schools are the worst, but like they're not the best. You know what I'm saying? So like we could just put it that way. So like, um, but he would have just had to deal with the ends of everything because I wasn't able to come up with anything better. So I was like, all right, fuck this. I got to do something, one, that feels ethical to me because I'm not about to live my life and do something that I don't want to do. Like that sucks. That sounds like hell. Two, what I do has to be beneficial to the environment. So I was like fixated on ecologically regenerative, sustainable micro industries. It's a concept that I learned in 2015 during the regenerative urban sustainability training that I took at the Radix Center in Albany, New York, with one of my mentors, Scott Kellogg. I studied this man's work incredibly and his partner Stacy Pettigrew. They're some of the most radical urban sustainability scientists, like scholars, scientific scholars in urban sustainability that I've ever met, and I've literally written like university texts on urban sustainability. But I went and learned with them, and they got me fixated on this ecologically regenerative, sustainable micro industry. So I'm just like, whatever my business, and they gave me the words to explain what I was thinking. I was like, whatever my business is has to make the environment that my family lives in a better place to live. Like I can't do business that's going to be detrimental to the environment. I have to think about every aspect of what I'm doing. And if some part of what I'm doing is damaging this environment, that's bad. It has to benefit the environment or else it's not good business. And it has to be beneficial to my social systems. So I'm like, all right, I can incorporate these beneficial medicinal mushrooms and nutritional mushrooms that weren't available into my community. And I'm creating a bunch of soil and I'm reducing the amount of methane that's produced in our air, which is effectively at a small percentage creating making our air quality better. But over a long period of time, that's quantifiable data. I've put literal tons of carbon into the soil in central Pennsylvania that would have been composting and producing methane in the landfills otherwise. I have that quantifiable data by growing mushrooms, by sinking that carbon, by doing composting practices, by running gardens. So like I've ran a nonprofit since I was 18. So longer than I was since before my son was born, I was already running a nonprofit that the focus was running gardens in people's yard that didn't have the time or know how to run a garden but wanted access to fresh food. And in doing this, I had gardens in a couple different locations throughout Pennsylvania, or throughout central Pennsylvania, Camp Hill, Lemoyne, New Cumberland, Harrisburg area. And We flipped coffee grounds, local sawdust, all sorts of. All right, so like in our areas, people will put yard waste into the street, and a vacuum cleaner will come suck it up and take it to a municipal composting facility. So we're taking like yard waste, wood chips, everything, and just turning that into mushrooms, and then turning that back into fertilizer for the gardens, and just running it up in multiple directions. So doing our best to create you know, social benefit and quantifiably, and then connecting people to nature. So I don't necessarily remember what the question was even anymore. Why did I start Mycosymbiotics or something? Yeah, just for my boy. So my boy had something in the future. So like I started that business and I wanted it. That's where I was. I remember where I was. That was just the whole goal. Like make sure that because I don't own anything, make sure that my family has something that so I can start building to the point where I can establish a trust, where I have something worth building a trust for. And so that my family's protected in this Greco-Roman political system that we're living in into the future. So that was why I started a business, and what the goal of the business was to just like Mycosymbiotics as a business is an ecological research business that highlights valuable aspects of the environment that are undervalued so that we can give people a reason to care about protecting the environment and ways to make money.
That's incredible. And what a great inspiration to start that business. Sounds like there's going to be a lot of impact there for generations to come, for sure.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the whole goal.
Yeah. What was it like being the first to publish an English language book on cultivating cordyceps?
That was crazy. I mean, it went to a lot of countries off rip. Like immediately, it went all around, and it affected like the entire Latin speaking world.
Mhm.
Like when I say Latin speaking world, I hope people know what I mean in the sense of like Spanish, Italian, French, any country that is a Latin based language like English. Um, it impacted because before this, all of the cultivation information was in Asian languages, which don't directly translate into Latin based languages. They have way more poetic words than we do. We're very reductionist as a linguistic culture. So yeah, that was a big impact, and it gave me a career. It really established my career in mycology. Like I don't know if I wouldn't have done that if I would have been able to like maintain this longevity in this way. Like I would have never gave up. It's just not in me to give up. But like I would have something would have hit. I know. But like cordyceps, getting involved with cordyceps and writing that book early on like cemented me into the world of mycology. Like, and I knew what I was doing. Like, I knew like a lot of people will say, "Oh, that was just a little handbook." Like, I had like a legit mycologist that I looked up to at this event call my book a little handbook, and I was just like, "All right," but like forever in 2015 or in January 2017, William Padilla Brown published the first blah blah blah. You know what I mean? So it's just like it's history. I knew what I was doing. I was like trying to set myself up for success, and like whether or not it was where it needed to be because it wasn't. And I published a second volume 2 years later that's like an actual book that has way more information. It changed my life. Literally, I mean, like that year before my book came out in 2016, I was writing the book because everybody was asking me about how I was doing this. I was posting pictures on the internet of cordyceps growing, and this is before AI, so nobody could say, "Oh, this was fake." Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm posting these pictures of cordyceps growing, and people are like, "What the fuck? Like, how did you do this? Like, what substrate? What temperature? Like, how long did you pressure cook it? Where did like all these questions?" And I'm just like, "Oh man, if I answer all these questions and then sell it to people, I'm broke, yo. I'm literally serving tape. I'm like fucking. I like all right. So like in 2015, right around the time I incorporated my company, I was serving tables at an Asian restaurant, and and I remember a couple instances where people like anybody that serves tables has had this happen where people just look down at you like they're better than you or something, and like I'm just like, I had it happen in this one instance, and in my mind, I'm just like, these people don't even fucking know I'm a genius. I like in my head, I'm just like, I felt like Kanye West or some shit. You know what I mean? These people don't know that I could fuck that I'm more than a server. But like, I was just like, I was like, I need to do better than my because if I don't see myself as more than this, then what am I gonna be? You know what I mean? So like, I got this gig, my first gig out of the state, like because I was hosting my own events at like yoga studios or wherever would host me and teaching, and I did this class with Delaware Permaculture at this horticulture center in Delaware, and people came out for it, and like I made more money in an hour and a half than I ever like. I made more money an hour and a half than I ever made on a paycheck that for 2 weeks of my work. And I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I quit my job immediately. And it was fucked up because like I had a kid and I did not have a schedule. Like I did not have any plans about how to maintain doing more gigs or anything like that. I did not know about how to do anything. I didn't even I didn't even know about how to file my taxes until like fucking like 6 years into doing business or something. Like so like it's just I mean, they don't teach you this kind of stuff. I don't even speak the language of people where I come from. So like, it's like important to understand the shit ain't the same for everybody out here. So like, I'm one generation into learning the Greco-Roman Empire using English and figuring this shit out. I'm third generation. You know what I'm saying? So like, on my mom's side, you know what I mean? So it's different for everybody. But like, I'm learning all this shit. Business is a whole different world, whole different language. But I just quit. I went right into this shit. And like I went off track. Don't necessarily remember um why I started telling this story about that. But the book. Yeah, so like whenever I decided that I was because like people got mad like anytime I do anything, people are gonna get mad. A lot of people will support, a lot of people are gonna get mad. But when I made the book, people were like, "Oh, why are you trying to sell information? Information should be free." And I'm just like, "Yo, I don't own anything. Like, I don't even have enough money to patent what I figured out how to do. Like, you know what I mean? I literally figured out how to grow these mushrooms. Nobody else is doing this shit. Literally, only one other person's cooperating with me, and and I didn't have any money to. I don't know how to fucking patent, and I didn't have any money to patent if I wanted to. So like, uh, I was just like, all right, let me just write this book. And so like, but right before I wrote the book, I got invited to talk about how to grow cordyceps mushrooms at Telluride Mushroom Festival. So like, between doing that and the book coming out, then I just had jobs. Like people were like, come over here, talk about cordyceps. Come over here, talk about cordyceps. Come over here, talk about cordyceps for like years. I got the attention of a small like philanthropist. I don't know the best way to even like say what he is, what this guy was, but like he just was like, he had money. And outside Asheville, North Carolina, he was like he angel invested in the first commercial cordyceps facility in the US, which was in Western North Carolina. Like he got me the spot leased out for a year, and then I just ran it up, started running up growing cordyceps and shit.
Amazing. Wow. What a great story. Yeah, how does cultivating fungi support holistic health, both personally and ecologically?
Cultivating fungi helps support ecological health because most of us are in the ends in weird human ideological environments, which are like I don't know what's the word like they're like not theoretical, they're figurative deserts. The human ideological environment in most senses, like an urban area, is a figurative desert. And people say food desert, all this type of shit. It's a figurative desert. It's paved over. There's only little bits of vegetation in most places, and unless you're really lucky and you live somewhere that's like super green. And all the energy flows through little wires and little pipes that you have to pay to tap into. If you want water, it comes in a little pipe, you got to pay for it. If you want energy, electricity, it comes in a little wire, you got to pay for it. If you want to uh interact with real value, you got to be able to connect with the environment. Okay, so because we're in this figurative desert, a lot of us don't have access to nature. A lot of us don't have access. The world is nature. It's just it's weird nature right now. So a lot of us don't have access to like ecological, biological, diverse environments. So to create that for ourselves, fungi gives us a really great starting point because what we do have is a lot of waste, a lot of trash, which is a weird word. Trash is a weird word. Waste is a weird word because it's a concept that in nature doesn't exist. Find me waste in nature. Find me where nature wastes. Find me outside of the human ideological world where nature makes waste.
Hmm.
It doesn't. Everything's hyper efficient. There's always something to consume everything. Everything happens for something else. You know what I mean? With mushrooms, we could take this waste that we were throwing away, which is another weird concept because there is no such thing as away. There's only one planet. There's no away. You know what I mean? Our away is some other place, people's place. So we could take this waste and start making soil. And soil is the root of all value. All value systems are based in healthy soil. So we can create this healthy soil, and from this healthy soil, we can start developing a soil bank from which we can withdraw whatever we need in whatever diverse form that we need. Maybe it's very metaphorical, but with growing mushrooms, we could take things like coffee grounds, wood chips, yard scraps, grass clippings, straw, animal manure, and we can grow very valuable mushrooms, harvest those mushrooms, and then we have nutrition and medicine. All mushrooms are medicinal. Even ones that can kill you are medicinal. You just got to separate the toxic part. All mushrooms are medicinal. Somebody can argue this with me. We can talk about it. They all are producing beneficial, immunologically active polysaccharide compounds. So, and amongst a host of all different sorts of unique compounds. And then there's the nutritional varieties that could be beneficial for people, especially vegans, vegetarians. They can provide a significant amount of caloric intake and nutrition, mineral diversity in the diet. So that's like how it can be beneficial for us. But creating soil is super beneficial for the environment. So you create this soil, you're making this compost, you're creating this soil. Bugs are going to find it, worms are going to get in it. Uh, you're going to create a complexity of insects because once the insects start coming, then the spiders start coming to eat the other ones, and then there's a complexity. Birds are coming, then you're creating biodiversity, and biodiversity is biosecurity. So just with the soil, with the compost piles alone, you're creating more biodiversity. You're going to see more life. Then you start growing food from that. This is where I'm saying you can withdraw from your soil bank. So you could take any kind of plant ally that we have. Let's say I need sugar. All right, let me grow beets. Let me grow berries. Let me grow whatever from my soil bank. Now I don't even have to fertilize. I can grow these. I can grow the sugar. Oh, I need starch. Let me put a potato. Let me put a Jerusalem artichoke. Let me put whatever I'm gonna withdraw my starch from. I need medicine. Let me put the goji berry. Let me put the cannabis. Let me put the whatever. I'm gonna withdraw my from my bank and with whatever thing I need from it now from this biologically diverse soil bank that I've created, this neutralogically rich soil bank that I've created with fungi and with other waste scraps that would have just been waste. So these are ways that it could be beneficial by creating a lot of soil really fast in environments where the soil is either toxic or where we've washed away a lot of the mineralogically rich or nutrologically rich soil. So yeah, I could rant about it forever, but I think that's a good place to cut.
I love how you call it a soil bank. That's brilliant because it is. You make your withdrawal and you make your deposit. That's great. I love that analogy. It's a really a good way to look at it, and a great way to invest in ourselves is to start composting and start growing and get into that, isn't it?
Yes, for sure.
You blend science, art, and community beautifully. How do those elements intersect in your work?
Artists are scientists and scientists are artists. I mean, a lot of citizen scientists are like super artists, like for real. In the sense of like science is art. It just depends on how you look at it. Like a lot of people, I don't know about how what people's appreciation is for art anymore. Like I've been posting like reishi and Ganoderma bonsai art on my Instagram, and there's some people that's just like, oh, like I don't get the point of this. I don't get this. And it's just like it's just because it's beautiful and they're like, I don't find this beautiful. And it's like, okay, well, some people don't like certain people's paintings, but like a lot of other people do and will pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for them. And it like people will stick their nose up about art culture and like people will say whatever they are, whatever they have to say. Some people have interesting conspiracies about art, which may be true, may not be. But in a really broad sense, like I have a lot of artist friends that their art sells at high prices because some people just really fucking love their art and know that into the future it's going to be valuable. Like that's awesome. You know what I mean? So like, um, I think I think it's about appreciation because like a lot of people would just be like, "Yo, why are you doing this? What's the point?" You know what I mean? Like because I like this because this is a really cool thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think science is art is science. It's just like, you know, figuring out new things and showing it to the rest of humanity. And then MycoFest really does it in a big way because it's a mushroom and arts festival. So it's just like I bring together a lot of artists, a lot of musicians, and just let everybody intermingle and it all comes together in a really interesting way. And I think that personally MycoFest is my biggest art piece that I've ever created. It's really like my gift to the world. If I was gonna like, you know, what I mean, gonna say that I like, because it's like it's really the most public thing that people can engage with, and I think that it's art. I think that this event is art that I created because it didn't exist and I made it up and now it exists and people are interacting with it and can experience it and Yeah. So I think in a lot of ways it's just like that. How can we create, novel experiences? And for me, with the art that I'm creating, it's about new realities. It's about exposing the mind, exposing the consciousness, exposing the body to new realities, so that we can, co-create these whatever people find, that they like about it together.
I love that. And yes, I want to dive a little bit deeper on MycoFest. What was the vision originally on it, and how has it grown over the 11-year span?
I started MycoFest because whenever I got my permaculture design certificate in 2014, 2015, I created a design called non-traditional independent education systems that was focused on creating a higher education system for me to follow to learn things that weren't available to be learned in institutions at the time. And then also because I don't really conform to institutions very well. And I still wanted to learn. So I was like, how do I learn? How do I get a higher education? So I was like, all right, well, there's all these events going around the country, agricultural events and scientific symposiums, things like this, where I can actually meet authors of the books that I'm reading in all these different fields of interesting things. Like I was studying quantum physics and consciousness theory. I was studying the physics of consciousness in 2012. Where can I go to learn about that at school? Like people were still studying neurophysiology to try and learn about consciousness back then. Like it wasn't even institutionalized that well yet. Mycology still hasn't been institutionalized that well yet. If you want to study mycology, you have to study environmental biology, environmental microbiology, and plant pathology, not mycology. You have to study environmental microbes and plant pathogens,
Mm.
like not mycology. That's how you study fungi because fungi are plant pathogens and environmental microbes. We haven't even gotten to the point that far yet. So, like, I'm like, all right, how do I study things? Well, there's all these people writing this cutting edge information about it. They give public dissertations, lectures, and they show up at these events. I can't afford any of this shit. I'm a high school dropout. I'm serving tables. How about I just make an event that I could afford to go to so other people like me could afford to go to it? I live in one of the most highly densely populated regions of North America, the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. You got New York City, you got Boston, I'm from Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, DC, Baltimore. All of those highways goes to New Cumberland, Pennsylvania. All those highways goes to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Everybody can get to where I am. Public transportation, Amtrak, Greyhound, whatever can get you right to where I was at. So I was like, I've been up and down this whole coast my whole life riding these public transportation. As a poor, not poor, I'm one of the richest people in the world. People could fight me about that, debate me about that. I think that nature and soil is the richest things. I think that human connection is the richest things. I'm richer than Jeff Bezos. People care about me all around the world. I could touch clean soil and drink spring water all around the world. Like my people love my family and will host us anywhere we go. I'm richer than Jeff Bezos. Like I don't gotta pay and force myself into some circumstances. You know what I mean? So like, and like that's what I think people should be seeking out as far as being rich is good soil, clean water, and good relationships with human beings. So it was easy to get to where I was at. It's easy to get where I was at. So I found a place that could let me rent it for really as much as I could afford to pay, and I offered the most affordable mushroom festival. And like I based it mostly off of like Telluride. There wasn't really any other mushroom festivals. It was like the Telluride Mushroom Festival. They get like all of the top tier mycologists from around the world to come talk about what they're working on every year in the middle of the richest mountain town in the middle of nowhere, Colorado. That is so expensive to get to. And like I love Telluride. I'm sponsoring Telluride. I've been teaching on Telluride for like 8 years, 7, 8 years. Like, if I wasn't teaching there, I would never be able to go there. It prohibitively expensive. So, like, just keeping it real, like, I don't know how to do anything else. I'm like, all right, how do I do this for my people? So I was like, all right, let me find all of the mycologists that can drive here that I don't have to fly. I can't fly people around, all this type of stuff. Like, but there's so many cool mycologists that I met personally. Like, I was like posting on Instagram or Facebook and YouTube all the time. And so, like, people from like Maryland and New York had reached out to me and like I started to connect with these people that were like had a little mushroom business over here or was like doing a lot of foraging over here. And I'm like, I know some people that could entertain people for a weekend. I was like, all right, can you help me lead forays? Can you help me talk about how to grow mushrooms? And I got some of the coolest people to come out for the first MycoFest. And we fed people for 3 days. People came out and camped. And yeah, I mean, from there, it's like, it's definitely like the prices has changed with the economy, and like it's grown into an event that usually has around like 400, 500 people a year now, from like 60 the first time. And now, yeah, we're on our 11th year, and it's now it's mycologists from all around the world, mostly from North America, teaching about things that they've been working on every year. We have live music in the nighttime, live art galleries, like food vendors. It's a really great time. It's at an arboretum outside State College. It's at this arboretum called Aroni Mead. It happens the first weekend in August every single year, so you can always count on that. So this year, it's August 1st through the 3rd, and yeah, I'm super excited to run it up this year again. And as we grow up, because like a lot of people have grown up with the festival, now that it's on its 11th year, I've seen a lot of businesses build, a lot of relationships build. Now there's going to be a lot of babies at the festival this year, so it's like a lot has changed, and we're really a community. So like now what we're doing with the festival is guiding an intentional conversation around how we want to live on this earth with each other for the rest of our lives, because we're here and we can talk with each other peacefully right now. Like, how do we want to coexist with each other, because this is our planet and this is who we're going to be with for the rest of our lives, whether we like it or not. People can go run off and be as self-sustainable as they want to be, but we're more interested in being interdependent and entangled, and knowing that when I'm 70, as long as you're healthy, we're still going to be here with each other. And it's our responsibility as the humans that are in the flesh right now, to take as much responsibility of this as we possibly can for the next 7 generations, because somebody left us with this bullshit, and like we owe it to those that come next to do better. And so now MycoFest is turning into, all right, we're getting all these new people in, and we're entertaining people in the base level, all the way up to having like on a base level of like, this is how you grow mushrooms, this is how you forage mushrooms, to the level of those of us that are like leading this conversation around how do we coexist with each other here for the rest of our lives, and how do we create the United States of America that we want to live in, because this is our country, this is our earth, and we have the ability to do something about it, especially if we collaborate with each other. So that's where it's at right now. And we're bringing in some of the leading minds in the space. This year we have Charles Eisenstein as one of our keynotes, who's a philosopher and author in literally a better world our hearts know exists, like sacred economics and all these kinds of things.
Incredible. I love hearing the story of MycoFest and how it's evolved throughout the years, and the mission statement behind it, the purpose behind it. It's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm excited. I would love to go. Are you accepting any vendors?
Yes, we are still accepting vendors. We're all filled up for speakers, but we do accept everything by application usually. So like artists, vendors, speakers, all that. But we are still accepting vendors. Yeah, so you can find out more information at mycofest.net.
Well, thank you. And yes, can you speak a little bit about or can you speak to the spiritual or energetic aspects of fungi and healing and awakening?
For sure. And I do have to wrap up soon. So if there is any other questions that you would like to wrap up with
Oh,
after
yeah.
this or with this, I just wanted to throw that out there. So like fungi and spiritual awakening, we are multidimensional beings. Human beings are multidimensional beings, and an incredible curiosity to all sorts of entities that aren't. So in a spiritual sense, because I believe in multiverse theory, I believe that anything can happen, will happen, and is already happening. I believe that if you disbelieve somebody's beliefs, that you collapse a potential reality for yourself. So I choose to subscribe to certain beliefs and entertain others without subscribing to them, but without disbelieving them. So in the spiritual sense, yeah, we're multidimensional entities that are very curious to non-multidimensional entities. And with that being said, we have the ability to exist in all levels of creation. This depends on your perception. Mushrooms are also, fungi are also multidimensional entities at a higher capacity of sentience than us. I don't want to say consciousness, because there's still so much debate around consciousness theory. But as far as sentience, I do believe that fungi are more sentient than us. They have more connectivity in the sense of their mycelium. It's like the ultimate nervous system as far as connectivity. So if you understand modern evolutionary biology, then you understand that we are part of a super taxon called Opisthecons, which shows that the kingdom of Animalia branched off the kingdom fungi, which means that animals evolved from fungi. So I believe since this branching, that fungi has been coercing us and our nervous system to be more like it. And at this point, our nervous system is starting to look a little bit like fungal branches, like mycelial branches. And I think that we can complexify more and more and branch more and more. I think this is what a lot of the human potential movement is focused on. I think this is what a lot of like biohackers or psychonauts are focused on through neuroplasticity and exploring altered states is also changing the physiology of our brains and the physiology of our nervous systems. So yeah, I think mushrooms like truffles, Hericium genus mushrooms like lion's mane, and psychedelic mushrooms like psilocybin are coercing our nervous system to be more like mycelium so that we have more connectivity and more diverse experience and interaction and capabilities in the multidimensional reality that we exist in.
Incredible. Well put. Totally agree with that 100%. And I know you mentioned a documentary. You're working on a documentary. Is it going to be out soon? When can we expect it? And where do we watch it?
My documentary is going to be premiering at MycoFest. So I've been creating for the past 2 years a documentary on truffles to expose the world to truffles, which are the world's ultimate mushrooms, the Earth's ultimate mushrooms. For whatever reason, a lot of mushrooms evolve into truffles. So there's a lot of different types of truffles, like chanterelle truffles, morel truffles, amanita truffles, lots of different cool truffles, lactarius truffles. So, um, a lot of people don't know about the world of truffles, and if we're looking at fungi as medicine, truffles are some of the ultimate in that sense. So I really wanted to expose the world to truffles because, people in the US are starting to grow European truffles before they even knew that we had native varieties that are worth cultivating. So there's a lot of waking up that we need to do in the sense of underground fungi. I mean, we're talking about mycorrhiza and the connection underground. This is what I'm saying. It's still so new that we're jumping into waters that we don't fully understand before we fully explored what's available to us here. So people say the ocean is unexplored. I think the soil is still entirely unexplored, especially because there's aspects of the soil that you will never be able to see under a microscope that now we have the tools through molecular biology to study. And yeah, I think that we're still scratching the surface, like literally and figuratively in a sense. So yeah, my documentary is on truffles. It's called Organic Nobility, Truffles, the Earth's Ultimate Mushrooms. It will be premiering at MycoFest, and then I'll be doing private theatrical releases around North America. If anybody's interested in licensing the film, they can email me at will@mycosymbiotics.com.
That's wonderful. Looking forward to that documentary. And is there anything that you want to tell the audience or let the audience know about the world of fungi or anything at all? What are some things that you want the world to know about fungi?
I think that there's a lot of opportunity in the world of fungi if we open our minds beyond what's classically done. I think a lot of people are looking at what people are doing, seeing what they believe to be successful, and then replicating this. I think that that's okay, that's fine. But I think that in this replication, it gives us a base layer of understanding of what we're working with and gives us some level of connection and relationship to the mycelium and to the fungus and to the mushroom. And from that connection of relationship, I think that it's very important that we think critically about social needs where we're at in the world. A lot of people are thinking on this global sense, which is very important. But I think that a lot of the action that's going to be beneficial to see the world that we want to see is going to happen at home. So I think that a lot of people need to figure out, what does my social environment require from me? And how can I benefit my social environment with what I'm doing? Because fungi allow us this capability to benefit our social environment in so many different ways. And a lot of people are just going this route of cultivating mushrooms, which isn't entirely necessary because there's a lot of very, well off, larger scale mushroom production facilities around North America that are producing high quality mushrooms. Maybe you live in a part of the country where there isn't one of those. It might be the best thing for you to do is just to grow mushrooms. But in a lot of different cities around the US, the mushroom part is already taken care of. So if you already know how to work with mycelium, there's still a lot of things that you can do to benefit your environment. And then that's up to the creative mind for you to figure out how to make money doing it. It's a very interesting time because money is losing value very quickly. And I think that is very important for us to figure out how we can live without money, which is going to take even more critical thinking, which is very great because mushrooms would give us the nutrition to have the brain power to think critically. So I think that's important that we eat our mushrooms. I think it's important that we eat our wild foods, and that we use that nutrition in our body because our brain uses 20% of our caloric intake to think critically. I think that's important that we use these mushrooms to grow very rich green plants that we can spend time next to because the atmosphere has more CO2 in it than it ever has had. So it's important that we have zones with increased oxygen because CO2 in the environment makes us dumber. This is just proven. If you're in an environment with high CO2, you're not going to be able to think as critically. So use the mushrooms, create fertilizer, grow green plants, sit next to the green plants, eat the things that you're growing, think critically about how you can make your environment better with the things that you know how to do. Value yourself. We don't have to go too far out of ourselves. With the things that a lot of us already know, if we can think critically, we can utilize these skills in different ways to benefit our social systems. And this is where we're going to gain any kind of energy, any kind of power in our society, in our social environment, is by benefiting the social environment. Because then people need you, then people will require you, then people will value you. That value may turn into economic value, and then that economic value may turn into you being able to buy a politician. And then from you being able to buy a politician, then you can play the game that everybody else is playing. And then we can collectively start to take back America from the United States government gang mafia or pedophilic cabal that's been running the US.
Well said. And with that, William, where can people find you when they want to connect with you, reach out to you? What's the best way?
Uh, you can reach out to me through will@mycosymbiotics.com, and you can keep up with what I'm doing on Mycosymbiote on Instagram or Mycosymbiote on YouTube. I think it's best to just every now and then just check on the Instagram or join our newsletter to keep up with events and things like this. I have a hard time telling people to go on Instagram because I think it's very, very toxic, but I do a lot of really good business on there. So that's where you're going to find my most updated information. And I'm going to be doing updates on the website so that the website will have like mycosymbiotics.com will have all of our current events, things like this.
Perfect. Yes. And I'll make sure to leave all those links below so everyone can check those out. William, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here today. Looking forward to your continued success. And thank you so much for what you're doing for humanity and for the environment. Thank you.
Yo, giving thanks. Thanks for this platform. And I hope that we can connect in the future. I hope that I could see you at MycoFest one day.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching.
Peace.